My name is Prezi J, and I'm always joined by two great co-hosts, that being Rathagen and Rathagen. And Total Sunbro's actually up there. But I try not to, still giving him crap as much as I possibly can. But welcome back to another episode. I believe we're now in double digits, if I am correct. Total Sunbro's now going to check out fully. We're gonna uh, we're gonna kind of mix things up. Things are going to be a little bit different today. We're going to start off with a new segment. We're going to include segments now. So if you're not excited about it, I guess you could have clicked off by now, but we're here. So we're going to have, you said you're going to call it 5 minutes, taking five?
Yeah,
So this is kind of like my union smoke break right here. I can just kind of rant.
go. It's all yours.
Yeah, that sounds great. So I'm gonna put 5 minutes up on the clock, and cool. So there's big news that's been going on. If you have a pulse or a phone, you've known about it. Hopefully, where the Supreme Court has finally ruled in favor of the athletes for the NCAA, for using their NIL, name, image, and likeness. And why that even matters at all to video games is because back in the day, there used to be an NCAA football video game, and that was a very big deal. And the problem with them even being able to bring it up again is a lot of the players' unions started to say, we're over 18 and we're a college athlete and we cannot even, you're putting us in that video game. When you start doing that for bigger people, they're getting a paycheck out of that. And we're not. And so there was a lot of stuff going into that. So it's going to be really interesting. A lot of teams, a lot of colleges actually have released whether or not they're on board with the NIL statuses. They kind of there's going to be a lot coming, I think, over the next couple months of where that kind of goes into. The interesting part with that is EA Sports released a statement at least on this whole thing, which is really cool. And their statement was, we've been kind of working on this NCAA football game again, and it may go faster now than what we kind of projected, which is great. We still don't have a time date, so that'll be something that I'm going to be constantly looking for. Um, you have to think like the NFL has only so many teams, so Madden's a really cool game, and you know a lot of the players. You're a fan of that team, you know a lot of players. But the hard thing is like none of us know Tom Brady personally, right? Like he that's not a very common thing you'll know. You don't usually in your
hmm
Rolodex you don't have 20 different NFL players. But if you were to go into a college, you may know some of those guys that are going to be on that team. And so it'll be really cool to see what schools get selected even for the game, as far as that goes, and literally everything else as well around it. So it was a big push for that. There's an argument on both sides of it, so I'm not going to kind of get political with that aspect, other than it's happened. And I'm excited to see the NCAA game come out for football again, for college football. So EA is working on it. That is my 5 minutes. It's like 4 minutes, but that was my 5-ish minutes.
So I wonder for college athletes if deals like that will eventually get worked into their college contracts,
They will.
like for playing football for teams. Like it's like, hey, like this game's coming up and you'll be on the roster, so you'll get this percentage of royalties from it or whatever.
It probably will. You got to think like um, the where the fan bases are. Like again, it's not like Madden where you're gonna have like every team has a fan base
hmm
that's large enough to probably support that game. But in college, it's like if I was a Clemson or an Alabama fan, two of the biggest programs, or not, the big colleges. If I was a
Yeah,
fan of them, I know for a fact that those players are going to be on that roster.
that's
So I
fair.
think that'll already be worked in. I saw interview with you may not know him. He's got a lot of controversy around him, but a guy named Johnny Football back in the day, and he was saying how this is such a big thing because he used to meet people in the alleys, to literally hand him like basically checks under the table for him to sign things, and then kind of push them out on the black market so people could have them because he's like he could sign something just fine, but he wasn't making any money for it, and so he refused to sign anything until people started doing stuff like that. So this just kind of clears some stuff up for them, and I think in the video game world, this will probably it's going to help the e-game sports or the esports
hmm
genre, I think a lot because it starts to open up the conversation of cool. If I'm on this video game, you're using me, and like you're using every bit of me. Actually, like you're regenerating me personally into that game. So yeah, it'll be cool. It'll be cool.
Yeah, I wonder. Like Ninja has his own Fortnite skin, so I wonder like if like stuff in the future like that. Like, does he, I guess, get a portion of the revenue for his likeness being used when people are buying that skin?
I mean, it's the same way that like if you're same way like Fortnite with like the whole like use code whatever, and use code Prezi in the item shop. So the it's like that kind of thing. They're getting a portion of that royalty off of the how many buys they get. So
Okay.
I mean that's how the skins work. I mean that's
Okay.
like Rocket League just did the new Fast and the Furious skin. I saw that come out, and I mean, Fast and Furious, the franchise, will get a portion back as well as, and or maybe they're not. I don't know what the contract looks like. They could just be doing this for promotion, so they could be actually
Wait, is
paying
there
for
a
that skin
new?
to
Is
be in
there a
there.
new Fast and Furious?
Yes,
Is
Is that a serious question?
yeah, I don't. Yeah, thank you. I
but yeah,
was.
yeah, yeah. So I thought one came out like a year or so ago where they like go to space, or is that this one?
Don't ruin anything. I mean, I don't.
I haven't watched I
They
haven't
just
watched a Fast and the Furious since Ludacris was young in it. Okay,
yeah.
I think like the third one.
it's what, Fast 9, right?
It's
Is
Fast
that what
Nine.
just came out?
Yeah,
Yeah. I
I
Yeah,
finished
mean,
out
it's
six of
about
them.
cars and family,
yeah.
Fair
which
enough.
you could have said for the last nine.
And space apparently.
In space, yeah.
I
Apparently, I'm gonna go
salty.
see it
I
actually.
salty.
This
Yep.
I'm gonna go see it Monday actually.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. Is anything going new on with you guys?
Um, I've been playing a ton of Final Fantasy. That's about
Yeah,
it.
I know you want to talk about that. Wrath, anything new with you going on? I know that your stream's popping off.
I did a 200 followers celebration stream, and played Visage, and I let chat choose punishments each and every time I visibly got jump scared, which by the game, and I played for about an hour and a half, 2 hours straight. By the game, it was really only once. But one of the viewers in my chat, I had lowered the price of the Screamer redeem,
Oh yeah.
and they could not have timed it any more perfect. Which, like, it's kind of hard if you're in someone's chat because you got the delay, whether you're on PC or mobile. But the stars aligned, and right as soon as I opened the door, the screamer went off, and I
Oh
just screamed.
yeah,
So
that
I had,
is so
yeah,
hard to do. So that's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, I had a bunch of stuff people could redeem. I had mango habanero whiskey, which I know Sunbro knows exactly what I'm talking about because I
Some
gave him a
spicy
bottle of that
stuff.
once. I had
Oh
I
yeah.
had pickle juice. I had watermelon and mustard challenge.
How was
All of
that? Was
those
that
were
good?
options.
Did it taste good?
No one redeemed it actually.
Oh,
So
did you never just do it out of curiosity?
no, not yet. I have everything to do it, but
Nice. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
curious how that tastes. Well,
yeah,
congratulations
it's
on
no
the
problem.
200 followers. It's a big goal.
Yeah,
So
250 is
Yeah,
huge. That's
you
huge.
250 or 200?
200. But
Wow.
Wow.
yeah. But to talk about the actual game, though, Visage is a survival horror. It kind of follows the blueprint of those games where it, heavily implies that you're in some sort of purgatory state. I won't spoil the beginning, but the beginning is about the darkest thing I've ever seen in a video game. So
Hmm.
if you want to have a
Like,
little bit, go ahead.
is it kind of like Silent Hilly?
I've never played Silent Hill, so can't really say. But I'll say this: you wake up in a chair, sitting at a table with a revolver,
Wow.
and
That's
what you do with
grim.
that revolver next is, very, very dark, very dark. So
Interesting.
the whole plot line of this game is you are trapped in this house with paranormal activity, paranormal entities that basically you have to go and find out and flesh out the story of each person that has lived in that house and has died as a result of all of this haunting that's going on. and I haven't made it far enough through the game to fully understand the story, but it's definitely got some interesting storyline decisions that they've made where it seems like all of these people are connected, and I'm not really sure how yet. So I think that's going to be a good play. But it is incredibly scary, so I don't recommend playing it if you're faint of heart.
Yeah, I try to stay away from scary games as much as possible. Um, yeah, we played on here before for the Let's Play, like Phasmophobia, which I thought was super boring. But and aside from that, like it wasn't scary. Wasn't a scary game. I don't think it's really intended as much scary as more of it's like detective work, which makes sense. Um,
Ref,
but yeah, I just try not to do scary games.
what's that other game that's similar to Phasmophobia, but like the ghost is faster and you're like it's like generally a little better, a little more polished. You were telling me about it.
I don't remember. I know we had talked about playing In Silence before. I don't know if
Yeah,
that's the one you're thinking of.
no, that's not the one I have In Silence.
Do you
Um,
typically like would you typically watch like scary movies at all? Is that a thing that you would normally do?
No, no. I feel like I've kind of like pigeonholed myself into playing scary games because anytime I play shooters or anything like that, I just know like no one really seems to be interested to watch. Probably because I'm not good at them. I mean, I'm still better than Sunbro,
So
but
it's not hard to
I think he's
be.
got the bad FPS player market cornered. So
He
down
does.
pat,
That's a
down
good
pat.
yeah,
point.
yeah.
Man, that'd be
So
It was
great shirts.
Devour
Devour,
Ref.
yeah, yeah. Well, so I wouldn't say that's any better than Faz. I guess it's a little more polished, but not much. Not much. It's still
I
kind of
thought I saw
janky.
a TikTok of a guy playing that, and he's like talking to chat, and he's like hiding under this table, and like the thing like slinks by, right? Like weird
Yeah,
ghoulish looking thing like slinks by,
yeah,
and he's like, "Okay, chat, I think I'm safe." And this thing's like, it like zooms to him, and he like yells and like hides back under the table, like holding his breath.
right. Yeah, yeah. It's so the way that game works is it's pretty like you know how Phasmophobia is very regimented. There's some RNG going on, but other than that, like you pretty much know what the flow of each round is. So unless you just get some absolutely terrible RNG, you know what you need to do from
Mm-hmm.
beginning to end. It's not scary anymore, etc. So Devour is kind of similar in that more or less it's I'm trying to think of how exactly to describe the game, but basically the whole idea is you've got to sacrifice 10 little devil goats, and once you do that, you win. That's it. You banish Azazel, or however you say that devil's name. But what happens is every time you burn a goat, that's a process. You can't just throw 10 goats in the pyre and then you win the game. You have to put them in one at a time. And when you do it, it repeatedly angers the demons. So for each goat you burn, they continually like get more aggressive. She morphs, she gets faster, she gets wilder. I mean,
Hmm.
it gets to the point to where you just about can't beat it, in my opinion. It's kind of
That's
a fun social game, but it's really not fun for like more than one day, I would think. So
sure, like
It's
the
that's
GTFO,
fair.
like not
It's
more than
pretty
fun
cheap.
one day.
it's $5, so I mean, you
That's
know,
better. No, but yeah,
yeah.
that's super interesting. Um, Raf, I know that you had some games in mind you wanted to talk about today. Do you wanna go first and bring those up?
Yeah, we can. The other game that I played new recently, well, I played two other games new, but Darkest Dungeon comes to mind. That's a pretty interesting game. I was describing it as kind of an Oregon Trail meets Dark Souls type experience. Got a lot of RPG elements, a lot of
Can you
character
die
development.
of like
Dysentery?
dysentery? Yeah.
Not sure yet, but you can. So you have to manage the stress levels of your individual characters. So you can constantly hire new people into your party. You can recruit new people, new adventurers. And the whole objective of the game is you're trying to delve further and deeper into these dungeons um, to, I guess, resolve whatever issues those dungeons are causing for the town. And when you recruit these people, you could take them into dungeons. They all have their own unique abilities, they have their unique traits. So they respond to things differently. You'll have characters that the way they respond to stress is they need to pray or they need to go to confession. You will have people that need self flagellation, which, for those of you that don't know what that is, that would be whipping yourself. You
Yeah.
will have some that need to go to a brothel. You'll have some that need to go to drink. So every time you play, you have to manage their stress level. If you push their stress level, more events happen, but you get more loot. So you constantly have to manage your torchlight in a dungeon.
Mm.
If you play on a high level of torchlight and you bring enough torches, you can go through without accruing too much stress on any one individual, but the loot usually is just bare bones. The events are minimal. Playing on total darkness is where the stress gets cranked up, where the loot gets cranked up, where the amount of encounters get cranked up, and everything is generally just a little bit harder to play. But it's really interesting. I think it could be something that we could do a let's play on. It's not multiplayer, but we could do a Darkest Dungeons and Dragons type setup, and everyone could kind of contribute like what they would want their character to do. I had
Yeah.
that idea, so obviously we could talk about that off podcast, but it's a pretty fun game and it's really interactive, especially if you're a streamer. Like you can let chat name the characters. You can rename every hero that you recruit. So you could change their appearance and things like that. So there's a lot of customization and things like that, especially if you're a streamer. It's a good game to stream. So that's that. And outside of that, I played golf with your friends, which I saw Sunbro playing one time a long time ago.
Yeah, we,
So
we, we used to play
got I
back
got
when.
that I got that YouTube video of me
Hey,
squeezing his head. But yeah, other than that, that's what I've been up to lately.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's it's kind of interesting. You mentioned the idea of the game being streamer friendly, which I put a little bit of thought into recently. In regards to memories bring back what is the battle royale game that literally chat could decide different things going on in the game?
Oh,
Uh,
Hyperscape.
Hyperscape. Like that style of game was really interesting. Like I imagine like if Call of Duty had that in there, where streamers can always do stuff like I know for a lot of the charity streams and stuff that were going on. If you donated X amount of money, they had it would auto drop like all of their stuff in their bag. But it'd be kind of cool that like cool if you like once a round the chat can decide whether or not they have like a locked location where they could only go out of a certain area or something like that. It'd just be interesting to see more games get really into not more streamer friendly games, I think, and become more inclusive. I think that'd be interesting to see that. Yeah, I just think of those kinds of things as like as somebody that when I'm just kind of hanging out, I don't mind searching at marbles, stream with marbles or marbles for streamers,
Marbles
whatever
on
that
Stream, I
is.
think it's called.
Marbles on stream, yeah, and just playing in people's chat, like it's kind of fun just to kind of do that kind of thing. So it's a super interesting thing. Speaking of games that people don't love to watch, Sombra, I heard you have a game that you wanted to bring up and talk about.
I have been playing the heck out of Final Fantasy 14 online. Just yesterday, I got through like the main vanilla campaign. So I'm in the post game for the vanilla campaign now. Um, I've unlocked. Like the cool thing about that game is that you can make one character, and that character can be every class, right? So normally, like in World of Warcraft, if you want to play a rogue, well, you make a rogue, and then you're like, well, I want to try the warrior. You have to make another character to do that warrior. In Final Fantasy 14, you have one character, and then you can just pick up those jobs around the map and you can just do and literally switching is as simple as equipping that class's weapon. So currently, I have a black mage and a warrior. So I have DPS and a tank right now. And I can just swap back and forth between them, depending on what I want to do, and they level independently. So, like, if I'm playing on my warrior, I'm on whatever level my warrior is at. And then if I want to play my black mage, I swap over to my black mage and I play whatever character that's at. The early bits of that game are like 4-man activities and like story content. The later game stuff that we're like Lightsaber and I are like in the end game of vanilla right now, and one of the last activities we ran yesterday was pretty hectic. Like like to the point where we were marking individual enemies for the 8 people there to DPS down one at a time so that we weren't wiping, because we wiped like 3 times in a row on that one, and that like the difficulty spike from vanilla to like the when you get ready to move on into the DLC and the end game, it's significantly different.
So what you're saying is that benefits of Final Fantasy versus WoW is you can waste all of your time on one character instead of like 6.
The story's also better. I would say the story's better. The
Oh yeah,
story's
the story is absolutely
Prezi,
amazing.
shut your mouth.
I like how he didn't dispute that, Prezi. He's like,
I
mean, that's true. That is a benefit, but there's also this other benefit about the story.
Let me break that down, okay? Prezi, for 2 hours the other day. I should have my chocobo right now. I should have my mount. Where's my mount, son, bro? What do I need to do to get this mount? What is your quest?
Fair question.
I don't know. It says talk to a guy. I talked to him. He didn't give me anything. Okay, well, what quest are you on? He went, I don't know, the one where you talk to a guy. I go, Prezi, it's an MMO. The whole game is literally go talk to the guy.
He's not wrong.
He's like, I don't know. I skipped every cutscene. Has no idea what's going on.
I've not watched one cutscene. I've not watched one cutscene, and I have not read one blurb of text. So I am that weird gamer where if you were a story developer for a video game, and I was a video game company, I don't need you. Because I could just go copy and paste from something random, and it would work just as well. Because in my mind, I'm there to do the thing. Like I am your very typical, like, when Call of Duty comes out every year, guess what? Care less about the campaign. Haven't played a campaign in Call of Duty since Modern Warfare 3. And so, just go and I want to shoot things. So an MMO typically would not be my style because there's so much like text that you have to get through. But luckily, this game is so convenient for the average gamer where you literally can just click escape and skip literally everything as fast as you possibly can. Which is awesome. But then that does require you not to know what you're doing for sometimes. So I'm playing a different game in the same game is kind of what I'm doing. And also, I was talking to a guy.
We unlocked flying mounts yesterday, and that was a game changer. Like literally just being able to yeet over the map between
What
destinations.
level is that? You know what level in the story that is?
You just finished the main campaign.
Oh, okay. So, but that's still what, like, that's probably around 50 hours, right?
I'm at 69 hours, and I started.
I understand what you're at, but did you just finish the main campaign?
Yesterday, yeah.
Okay. So you're talking multiple days worth of like content to be able to get through that main story campaign, and so far, all of it's free.
You could yes, so that's worth saying. So the game is completely free to play through level 60, like through Heaven's Sword.
Ooh, interesting.
Correct. It is. We're on 30-day trial.
Heaven's Sword or Heaven's Word?
Heaven's Sword.
With an A?
Heaven.
With an A.
Sword.
I think it's Heaven's Word, like upward, like Heaven's Word.
Heaven's sword, like a sword.
Do you spell sword with an A?
No, I spell it with an O, like a sword.
Prezi, am I making this up?
No,
sword is spelled with an O.
I know it's spelled with an O. I'm telling you, Heaven's Word is spelled with an A and not an O.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it's with an A, right?
No, it's Heaven's Sword.
We're gonna do a new segment where we teach a 5-year-old something about something else. Hey, son, bro, you want to Google something for me? Type in Final Fantasy 14 Heaven's Sword and see if that works, Mister. I've done the whole campaign and I've read and watched all the cutscenes. Guess what? I've skipped through literally everything and I still know that it's
It
not
is
that.
Heaven's.
It's Heaven's
Okay.
Sword.
Okay. It is Heaven's Ward.
Prezi, here's the thing. So even though levels 1 through 60 are free to play, knowing how to say the game's name is premium content that you have to subscribe for. So
I subscribed for like 3 months. I just went ahead and I knew I was going to be playing it.
you need to pay for a higher tier.
Yeah, you really got to get. I am in the exclusive club. It's like, and the only thing they give you access to is the actual game title. So I'm letting you know right now that it's
So-
not. Did you Google it?
I did. You're right. Sorry.
Big Sword or no?
Heaven's
Okay,
Ward
cool.
with an A.
Yeah.
So they're getting ready here in a couple months to release their next DLC, Endwalker, and I think if they carry on their same structure, they'll make Final Fantasy free to play through Shadowbringers. You know
That'll
what I
be
mean?
interesting. Well, it's only free to play for 30 days. You have to remember that.
That's fair.
It's not free to play. It's not like, a BR that you can just go in and play. They're really capitalizing on the subscription model. How much is it a month? Just a month, not your 3 months thing. I'm curious if this makes
I think it's $20 a month.
if it's that price, like that's a pricey point, right? Like, I mean,
Is it?
I don't know, Raph. How do you feel about $20 a month
How
for
much
a game that
Netflix? How much Netflix do you watch in a month?
none,
Do you pay for Netflix?
no,
What streaming service do you pay for?
uh, Disney Plus technically,
How much Disney Plus do you watch in a month?
uh, probably 4 episodes of something every week, maybe 2 movies.
So 4 episodes a week. We're gonna call them hour-long episodes. So 4 hours
Yeah,
plus what? We'll call it another 4 hours. So 8 hours a
yes,
week ish.
yeah, 8 hours of well, so. For your context, let's pretend like it's 30 hours a month because it'd be yeah. So
Oh no
just do
no
that.
no. So okay no okay. It's $15 a month for 30
Okay.
days. You get a discount as you push that out.
Oh,
So
okay,
for
okay.
3 months, it's $13 a month. For 1 month, it's $15 a month.
So you save yourself $1.
Two.
Is is there a year subscription you can do? The only
I
reason I'm
don't know.
curious about this is because I just think that right like we've talked about this several times on this podcast where this new price point is not like it's it's good if the game's worth it. And my thing is the game is currently worth it to you. And so maybe the good part of this model actually is the fact that you can subscribe for 1 month for $15 or so, play the heck out of it, not want to do it ever again, and don't have to pay for it ever
Well,
again.
the other thing too is a lot of MMOs, even with subscription models, will have a cash shop, but you spend money for cosmetics, right? You spend money for mounts, you spend money for minions, that kind of stuff.
Right,
Everything in Final Fantasy, or dang near everything, you just earn in game.
right. And
Like
you can
you,
customize a lot in game
yeah. So
for whatever the in-game currency
there
is, not
isn't
a
an
paid
extensive
currency.
cash shop. Like the game is well made, well put together, and they do even like so they do like the large annual releases, right?
Right?
But every 3 months they do a large content drop, like story missions, new activities, new dungeons,
Yeah,
new raids. Like they do a large meaty drop every 3 months. So it's not like they're not just taking subscription money and running. They are actively developing for this game
right.
outside of their like for example, I had a gentleman that just found me in chat, like one of the guys who was there for almost my whole stream yesterday. He just found us in the directory, right? And I asked him, I said, how long is the post game to get into Heaven's Ward? 70 missions.
Hmm.
70 missions between the end of the base game and the beginning of the first DLC.
Yeah. So I mean, it's definitely a lot of content. I mean, it's It's been there for a while, right? So it makes full sense. So moving on and out of this, we are actually going to do a real segment, not just trying to teach Sunbro letters and the ABCs today. But we are deciding to do something called Battle of the Games, kind of a head-to-head Rock'em Sock'em Robots kind of style, where we put two games in the ring. We kind of work through them. We see which one we would ultimately decide maybe is a better one to play. So I think the mentality is, you load up Steam, you load up your console, you get in, and which one should I play? If I had both of them right there at my fingertips. Today, to start this all off, we've decided we're going to do Skyrim, which we've talked about in the past a little bit, and Fallout 4, correct, guys?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Dope. Um, so I played a little bit of both of these. They're not like always the type of game I love. But definitively I will say Fallout 4 is obviously just better. To start the conversation off. Some of you played both of these?
Yes.
Okay.
Um.
You're about to say
So
something
I am going
stupid.
to say
And it is
outright
it
Skyrim.
is Skyrim. It is Skyrim and Fallout, not Skyrim and Fallout.
Oh, good
Just
point.
so you
Thank
know.
you. Thank you
Yeah,
for
yeah. I just want to make sure we know exactly how to say the game's names.
yeah.
It's also Dark Souls, not Dirk Souls, and you know,
Yeah.
Bloodborne, not Bloodburn, etc.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And
Thank
join
you
us in the
for
after
thank you
dark
for
where we
specifying that.
sing the ABCs with Sumbro while holding his hand.
Um, I'm gonna definitively say Skyrim for between the two of them. Now,
Okay.
both do slightly different things.
Right.
I had a lot more fun playing Skyrim, playing through the campaign, uh, busting my character. Right, you level up enchanting, you level up alchemy, you level up blacksmithing, and then you use your alchemy to buff your enchanting, and then use your enchanting to buff your alchemy, and then use your alchemy to buff your enchanting, and then use your enchanting to buff your alchemy. And you go back and forth, and you end up with like dummy thick buffs on your armor, where you like throw out max level destruction spells for free, like at no magica cost or whatever they call it. You have like max crit damage on like a dragon bone bow, and you go through, and then in the DLCs in that game you can kind of design and construct your houses in that game, and like adopt orphans and get pets and like take on a wife and like have a home steward, and there's a lot more playability in Skyrim than in Fallout. When I played Fallout 4, the only thing I cared about was the base building, and I made a really meaty base, something that was impregnable, and then I never played that game again.
Okay.
Yeah, I think obviously both games being made by Bethesda were really, really expansive and both had a ton of playtime. I mean, a ton. Probably in the hundreds of hours for both of them. I think I have to go with Skyrim. Not really because of Skyrim itself, but only because of Fallout. I kind of get tired playing games that are just in that like depressive genre. It's the same reason that I
Fair.
don't like watching The Walking Dead. I mean, The Walking Dead eventually just gets to the point where it's just people dying and fighting zombies pretty much every episode. So it's just not really, for me, not really entertaining. Fallout was the same way. I get tired of looking at the bleak landscapes, everything's destroyed. I it's part of the environment, it's part of the story. I get it, but to me it's just not really my cup of tea. Skyrim, on the other hand, I think in particular the base Skyrim game is really good, but I think some of my favorite parts of Skyrim are in the Dragonborn DLC. And they did such a good job with the levels that were basically full of books. I forget what it was called. Sombra. I forget what the god that was based on was called, but it was
It was like
basically
an eldritch horror in the middle of like a library whose
uh,
walls were constructed out of books, and it was all
yeah,
like warpy and magicy on the like edges, right? Like a nethery almost.
yeah. I mean, they did such a good job that I can't remember what any of it's called, but I mean, I remember the experience, and the
Yeah.
experience of going through that DLC in particular was just great. And then, of course, they had Dawnguard, which I liked, but not quite as much as Dragonborn. Dawn Guard was the one that was very Twilighty and werewolves versus vampires type storyline. So that was pretty good as well. I think it had a lot of good content that went along with it, and I mean, just the memes. Like you just cannot get
Compare
past
her
the
to the knee.
memes that that game generated so many viral hits. I mean, I remember when I don't know if you guys played Black Ops 4 much,
Yeah.
but if you remember Nine Bangs in that game, I
Oh
remember the
yeah.
first time I saw the Skyrim meme was somebody had taken Nine Bangs, which Sunbro, if you didn't play that, that was basically a flashbang that would go off as a cluster 9 times in a row. So just imagine 9 flashbangs hitting you, and that's what a nine bang was. They literally deleted it out of the game. They didn't nerf it. They took it out of the game. But somebody got hit with a nine bang, and then the next thing you know, in this YouTube video, they're waking up on the wagon going to Helgen.
People
So that
still
was the
use
first time
that.
I ever saw that. Yeah, that was the first time I ever saw that meme. But that meme is immortal. I mean, that thing has been around forever. So obviously, arrow to the knee. I think everybody got tired of that joke after a while. But I mean, just really, I think it's been well outside of its scope and what it did for gaming as a hobby, and that's why they re-released it 19 times.
Yeah.
What was your
The
Go ahead, Prezi. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, um, so when I started playing Skyrim, you have to think it was already years after it was already like a game and developed fully out and people playing it because I was very young when it came out.
Wait.
And that is actually true. You want to question that? You were an adult when this game came out,
Yeah, like I was working.
and I was not. Yeah, I was
He
not.
was actually a senior citizen when this came out.
I'll be like, I make all these jokes in the world, but literally the first time I loaded up
You
Skyrim,
were probably in
I
high
walked
school.
in. Yeah, I was like young high school. Yeah, like I was my freshman year of high school,
Wait, what year did you graduate high school?
2014.
It would have no, it would have come out.
Came out in 2011. Yeah,
It
there's your
came out on
timeline.
11/11/11.
Yeah, it
Somewhere.
did. It did.
Okay.
So the reality though is my first time I jumped in this game, right? Everybody's talked about it for years. All I've ever heard. So I'm in college. They're like, you have to at least play through it. Like you're gonna love this game. Not knowing me at all, I jump into it. Right? I know nothing about the game. I know nothing about any of the memes. Nothing like that. I get into this first city. And there's a stupid girl just crying, and so I shot her parents. At least give her something to cry about. And then I keep moving on. There's some chickens outside. I shoot a chicken. And then I go hide in this cave because everybody keeps shooting me every time I respawn. And I never pick that game back up again. Because I realized I had to go to some castle to wipe away all of my sins. And all I did was justice for that community. That chicken to me had polo because, and then, I'm just telling you right now, I didn't know that was a meme. I didn't know it was a meme prior. And then I like, the guys in the hall, they were like, oh yeah, did you like, how many hours did you play? I said, probably about 15 minutes. And they're like, what? I was like, yeah, I filled up a backpack really quick and I got upset I couldn't hold things more than what the backpack could carry because it's a freaking video game. It's not real life. So I'm already upset about that. And then I said, I can shoot magic out of my hands, but I can't carry things in a backpack. And so, and then I just shot this chicken and everything went to crap. And they were like, wait, you shot the chicken? And I was like, yeah, what are you, like, you should have known better. So,
Have you considered maybe playing as a character that does not commit familicide as soon as they walk into a brand new town? Have you considered that? Because that may have changed your playthrough experience
it may have, and to
just
be
a
honest
little.
with you, if the developers would have not have made this whiny girl, I probably would have done better too.
I'm trying to
It
remember who
didn't
you're talking about.
it didn't help that I literally walked in and shot her parents, but I just murdered them in the basement. So yeah, that was it was a good game. I really appreciate that game. That's why I said Fallout because I played Fallout more than I definitely have played Skyrim.
To me, it sounds like your vote is actually for Grand Theft Auto.
You, I mean, there was no cars in that game, but yes, I understand what you're saying.
Reth, what was your funniest moment playing Skyrim?
Oh, that's hard. Um, I mean, there was countless moments with the Fusro Da shout, obviously, countless. But actually, I think I was at a friend of mine's house, and if you remember, if you joined the Dark Brotherhood, you were able to level your way up through that guild and get the horse Shadowmare.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that horse was invincible.
Yeah, it was immortal.
So
That's why it was special, because all your other horses, you'd try to Bethesda climb up a mountain with your horse, and you'd slip, and then your horse would die.
he killed it. He fell off a mountain with that horse, and I don't know what happened in the game, but that horse straight up died. And I was sitting there on the couch watching him play, and that happened. And I just about died because I knew the horse was immortal. So the game literally just took a dump on this kid. Just out of nowhere. It was like, you know what? It is what it is. Sorry, buddy. And that horse just straight up died. I thought that was hilarious at the time. I'm sure there's things that are more funny than that, but that's the only thing that comes to mind. What about you?
It's bittersweet. So it's late game. I was over 300 hours deep into my playthrough at this point. Okay, in the DLCs, like, you could get houses, and you could decorate those houses. I had a fully furnished house, every different type of armor. I had a suit of armor on mannequins around my house. Like, all the legendary weapons that you pick up through your playthrough, I have those, like, as ornaments through my house. I had a bitchin' house. I went ahead. I was like, I have a house. I need a house steward. So I got someone to take care of my house, so I could also have a carriage out front. If I ever wanted to go to a town quickly, I had a fast travel carriage right out front of my house. I was like, well, I have transportation, I have a house. I need an orphan. I need an orphan around here. That'll really round out the experience. So I go get an orphan. And I'm like, the orphan's probably lonely. So I get the orphan a pet. My orphan gets a rabbit. I'm like, well, my house steward probably wants an adult to talk to, so I go get a wife. And I bring the wife home, okay? I have a whole, like, small community at this house. Now, I go out and I'm adventuring one day, and I come back, and I need to. I think I was working on my blacksmithing, and I need to break down, like, some of the stuff I mined. So I go into the house to get ready to go into the basement where I have my, like, blacksmithing set up. And when I leave my house, there's a pack of wolves, and my wife is fighting that pack of wolves with a butter knife. And I panic. So I used my Dragonborn ability, Storm Call. And I figure I will call down lightning and I will smite all these wolves very quickly, deal with the threat, and we will move on. Well, I murdered my wife. But things don't despawn in Skyrim. So her body was just on our steps for a while. So I had to drag her down to the lake so that she wasn't there every time I left my house.
Ladies and gentlemen, a moment of silence for Sunbur's loss.
The
You
funniest
you
thing
can
I have to say.
you
is-
can you can only marry once as well.
that's just a bad RPG.
And since I had just walked outside, I had auto-saved. She was dead. Like, dead, dead.
This is the funniest thing I've ever. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, oh gosh.
I could see you
but-
were waiting for me to get to the point, Prezi. I could see it. But
Yeah,
I had to structure that story in that way so that you could understand. Because I took time. I took like 30 hours to put that house and everyone together. Because you can't just go to someone. You can't in Skyrim. You can't just go to someone. Like, I can't go to Prezi's inn and be like, "Hey, you want to marry me?" And then you're like, "Yeah." Like, you have
the
to.
funny thing is that like your orphan that you got in the house,
I
like, is definitely more lonely now.
for sure, for sure. I
Yeah.
hope she wasn't
Yeah.
attached.
Gosh. So moving along and out of that segment, I'm gonna bring up the game that I've been playing off and on a little bit. I just bought something kind of for it, and then I was also gifted something else that kind of brought up this topic. Um, this again is a out of left field kind of game, but it's American Truck Simulator. Um, it's gotta be. I'm upset that I kind of like this game. I'll be honest with you. Um, One, the story is absolutely amazing because there is none. But two is because when I'm on Facebook, my personal Facebook, I get recommended every single American Truck Simulator live stream. And it's always this dude that has spent the last 15 years as a real truck driver that spent like 4 grand on his truck setup in his house. And he's sitting there and he's got this big gear shift where you can see it. And he'll like motion that he's going down the road. It's the coolest thing ever. Um, so I've
Is
always
it
wanted
the
to be him.
authenticity that does it for you?
I So back in the day when I was a kid, I grew up where we did not have internet, right? So every game that we played was either multiplayer through, like sitting there with somebody else, um, or you played single player games. And I was an only child, so I didn't have really anybody else to kind of do that with, other than the cousins next door. And they had a game on their computer called Trucking Across America. And that game was the coolest thing in the world because as somebody that grew up and since then I've been able to travel a ton into other countries as well, and so I got to see a lot of things, but I had no clue what different, like, the best I got was Grand Theft Auto, like Vice, like teaching me what other cities look like and stuff like that. So um that game really kind of taught me things, as well as it was super therapeutic just to kind of like sit there and mindlessly keep, just drive. So that was kind of cool. Um, I I think that one, it's a really good game for a streamer. I will say that a lot of a lot of simulation games are because they are able to interact with chat almost immediately because it's that mindless game. Um, so a game that the beta version just came out and people were able to play was Lawnmower Simulator. The accuracy in these games is really what gets me, I think. Because there's certain things that are extremely not accurate, and there's certain things that are just spot on. So in the reference that I'll use is like in the trucking simulator, when when I hit a pole does not fall down. Pole is concrete. So you have to just back it up and move it around. It's like the whole Grand Theft Auto thing where you can knock over a whole street corner of lights. Once you hit a tree, you're dead stopped. So it's kind of like that in that game. So that's the unrealistic part. But like if I double shift, I'm just stalled out in the middle of a freeway. So it's kind of cool that they put a lot of thought into that. This lawnmower game though, I literally drove around in circles for, I don't know, 10 minutes. Thought it was the dumbest thing I've ever touched in my life. I ruined so many people's lawns. In that 10 minutes, I cut into all their flower beds. I literally ran over one of, like, I mean, you can just, it's, and also you have to, like, your blade has to be over a certain point because you could tear up the ground, all this other stuff. So, there's a weird market out there for it as well. That's the other thing I have to say. Is when I'm on these Facebook things, you literally get it's not weird, it's probably not the right word to say there, but there is a market out there for that. Um, that people in the middle of the day will watch somebody drive a truck across America.
You recently picked up a month of Game Pass, didn't you?
Unfortunately, I
You
don't.
should
Why are we bringing this
you sh-
topic back up again?
no, you should check out Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Oh yeah. I have it
Your
downloaded.
your rig would 100% run the heck out of that game. That's it. That was it. As I said my piece. Hello? Hello, everyone. Sorry for the abrupt end of the podcast. My internet cut out, and after we finished recording, was out for 2 days. Sorry for the delayed upload. We will be back on track this week. We'll see you again on Tuesday. You guys take care.